Hello, Master Gardeners. If you're feeling like you're cooped up and you want some exercise, I got a plan for you. Anybody can start a vegetable garden in their yard with just a few simple requirements. We're going to walk through a couple videos here on how to start a new garden in your yard. So, first step is sun, sun, sun. So, walk out in your yard and try to determine where you get at least 6 to 8 hours of full sun. If you're not sure where that is, you might have to sit down with a glass of iced tea or lemonade for half a day and watch where you get the most sun. Without the sun, you're not going to have quality crops and you're not going to get produce. So once you've established that, then you're going to want to say, well, what direction do I need to face my beds? Usually they tend to be long. You want them narrow because you can only reach in about 2.5 feet. So a bed should only be about 4.5 feet wide at the max. So anywhere 3 to maybe 5 feet at the very most. So keeping it narrow so you can reach in. That would be one criteria. Then if you're running it lengthwise, you want it with a south direction, in a southerly direction, putting your tall crops to the north and your shorter crops to the south. So the question everybody asks is, well, how do I know which way is north, south, east, west? Well, right now the sun's setting, so I'm going to stand up with my back to the sun, and that's the west, I know, because it sets in the west. Sun rises in the east. Whatever direction my shadow's facing, that tells me east. And then the side that the sun came across is my southern exposure. So that's the direction you want your bed. If you look at my bed, it's 10 feet long, 4 foot wide, and I've got it running in that southerly direction. You want to avoid places like slopes. You don't want to put it in really poor areas of where there's unusual soil in your yard. So you have to use some wisdom about what site you're going to choose. But you want to stay away from tree roots. You want to stay away from your septic fields. You want to stay away from large rocky areas. So once I've established my location of where I want to place my bed, then how do we do it? First thing I like to do is take a hose and lay it to show my shape. For this one, I'm just doing a standard rectangular garden, but you might want to do a kidney-shaped garden, something that has some creative edges. And that's what the garden hose is so good for, laying out your shape previous to cutting. The second thing I do is take my shovel and cut on the inside edge of my hose. And I come along and cut it each time like this to mark the rim of my bed. So I trim, I cut those edges. Then I prefer to take a weed whacker and try to kill the crowns of the grass because I'm afraid that I'm not going to really dig it all up. I'm afraid some of it might get left behind and I want to try to make an effort to kill it. So here's some pieces that I skimmed off earlier, and look how much I scalped them down. You can hardly see any grass on them because I scalped it. It's kind of dangerous using your weed whacker that way, but wear your protective equipment, protect your eyes, and scalp it really low to kill it. My next step is to skim that off, which is kind of an art in itself. You take that shovel and slide it underneath and lift. And I recycle these. I don't discard this because it has so many good minerals and nutrients in it, so I'm going to keep that. So if I had a tiller, that would be my next step. I would then till all this in. I don't like to till these grass pieces in because I'm asking for trouble. All those little roots can come back in my vegetable garden, so that's work and later on. So I want to get as much of that top of the root system off that I can. So I take them out, discard them. That leaves me with this heavy red clay soil. The next thing I do is I cultivate this to 8 inches deep, and I go down. During this process, I'm taking sticks out. I'm picking out weeds and root systems that I'm finding. So that would be discarded. Fortunately, right here, I haven't hit too many rocks. But I try to get it down 6 to 8 inches deep. The deeper, the better. You're not going to come back later on and spend this energy digging this deep. So do it right the first time. That you want loose, friable soil. So get it down in there right from the beginning. And I'm turning it all over. I'm going to chop it up with my shovel. I'm taking out the big rocks. I'm chopping, cutting it up. Yeah, this is aerobic exercise. Make sure you're picking out large things like this is wiregrass weed. Let me show you some more of it here that I've already gotten out. These are wiregrass. Any little half-inch piece of this that's left in your garden is going to become a weed. So every time you're turning it over and you see something suspicious, reach down there and lift that weed out. So you have to take the time to do this correctly. If you cut short on this, you're going to get weeds in your garden. So once I've done that, I level it out. Then I come in with my soil conditioner or organic matter. Sometimes people want to run to a farm and get manures. You should steer clear from that in the spring months. If you choose to apply manures to your garden, you need to do that in the fall, and that'll allow it the whole winter to break down. Sometimes there can be serious pathogens in manures. You can buy bagged manures because they have been pasteurizing. They're safe, but getting it from the farm, be cautious. So I've purchased a soil conditioner. Now I lay the bags of conditioner all across the top of my bed so I can figure out how many I need. I just sort of lay them bag to bag, and I think I already put in 4 at this end. So this is a 4 by 10 foot bed. I've added 1, 2, 3, 4. I've added 4 so far. And I've already cultivated this end of the bed, and I've worked it in. Now if your objective is going to be apply about 4 inches of organic matter on top. That's my goal. Wiregrass. 4 inches deep of organic matter, and then turn that in. Look how deep my bed is. Look at that. See how deep it is? Nice and friable. So it's a dream. I got her great right from the start. So I'm going to be ready for planting in this bed tomorrow. But I want to do one more thing. Do you remember what it is? It's the one thing you should always do when you're starting a new garden bed. Don't neglect this step. Do your soil test. So that's what I'm going to do tomorrow in the next video for you guys. We'll do a soil test. The other thing I didn't talk about is, since I made this so nice and accessible for me, it's also accessible for my deer. And I do have a deer problem, so I'm planning right now, I'm probably going to have to put a fence along this to keep those stinkers out. I probably will get that little groundhog that lives underneath of my shed. He might come over here too, and my bunny rabbits. You have to plan ahead for those kind of animals. They will come when you plant the salad bar. They'll find you. Other than that, that's most of the big points of how to start a new vegetable bed or garden bed. Tomorrow I'll see you. We'll do our soil test.